I'm not going to apologize for anything that I say.
Get used to it. Let's get into it, baby. Welcome to the podcast known as Gagging on Gangrene. With your host, Michael Rosado. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, indeed, welcome back to the podcast known as Gagging on Gangrene, and I am your host, Mike Rosado, and on this podcast, we talk about the J-E-T-S, and each and every one of you should know the rest. Week 2 of the preseason is down, and let me tell you what, people, I have seen some things. It seems our offense is finding a pulse, a rhythm, and some leadership. It seems our defense is having trouble stopping damn near anything that gets thrown their way from the Jacksonville Jaguars. That concerns me a little bit, but we'll get into all that in just a moment. We're going to start off today as we always should. At the head of the Hydra, Mr. El Jefe himself, Rex Ryan. But before I get into that, I want to tell each and every one of you who have come back for another round. I greatly appreciate it and thank you very much. For all you first-time listeners out there, I want to welcome you with open arms. I want to hold your hand through. I want to make sure you see your way to the end just fine and nicely. That being said, we're going to get right into it. I got a lot to say and not a lot of time to do it. So let's get it rolling.
Less talk and more action.
Do you understand there's a price to pay?
And once again, Rex Ryan makes headlines talking about Geno Smith having a brutal practice. Wow, really? Geno Smith had a brutal practice. And we put him on blast about it over a press conference. It was just brutal, flat out. Now I understand it's what everybody's thinking and what they were going to address to begin with. But for you to flat out say that Geno Smith had a brutal practice when Mark Sanchez had 2 brutal seasons is a little suspect to me. It really, really is. When it's all said and done, it's like, wow, Mark Sanchez got every pass in the world, but this kid on a bad ankle has 1 brutal practice, and we immediately have to address it. And I know you have addressed Mark Sanchez doing bad in this preseason and on other occasions, but I find it a little suspect. I find it a little weary when you put him on blast when he's trying to win the starting job, and Mark Sanchez, who has gotten every opportunity and been coddled throughout his entire career with the Jets, who's almost had to answer for a little to nothing. Maybe at least not publicly. It seems like at every turn, and I'm not the only one saying this. I'm damn sure I ain't the only one saying that Mark Sanchez has been coddled throughout his career, and he has. He's had to answer for little. He gets to keep making mistakes and keep having a starting job. You have the worst QBR of the last 2 seasons. You have more turnovers than anybody else in the last 2 seasons, and yet you're still the front runner for the starting position in New York, and it's getting pretty bad. It's getting to the point where it's almost sickening. And I was actually rooting for Geno Smith because I was really, really hoping for some new blood. I'm tired of looking at Sanchez. I really am. And I know he hasn't been that horrible this preseason, and we will get into that in just a moment. But for Rex Ryan to A, miss things that are going on in week 1, and B, to put this poor rookie on blast when he had an ankle injury, and it's like, well, it was just brutal and blah, 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 and that. And then he doesn't even get, and he pretty much took himself out of contention to play in the second preseason game because he was trying to get back too quickly. It's a little heartbreaking to me. And I can't take it anymore. This roller coaster of this quarterback competition is actually taking on a life of its own, and I'm sick of it. I don't even care if Mark Sanchez named the starter anymore, which is pretty much looking like it is. I don't care what that website says about how even it is. It's still up for grabs. No, it's not. No, it's not. And it can't be up for grabs for one reason. Playing time. And I know Geno Smith was injured. He couldn't get any playing time, but let's be realistic. You have one body of work playing against two completely different defenses, and you got one guy who played half of what he was supposed to do against another. Right there, your notes don't even compare. But it's all right. It's cool. It's okay. We'll just go through another great season with Sanchez. I know this year he's finally going to wake up. His 5th season. Fifth season is going to be his Pro Bowl season that we all thought he was once upon a time going to have. His 5th season is going to be the one that's going to take us to the Super Bowl. Wait, I'm sorry. I have a brain and what's that called? Common sense. Yeah, that's it. Now, I'm not saying Geno's going to accomplish anything else, but you know what? With Geno, it'd be a first-year type of thing, and we're rebuilding anyway, people. So I say, why not? Why not go with the guy who hasn't had a chance to screw up yet against a guy who has screwed up at every turn? That's just my opinion, though. And that's the opinion I'm going to stick with, and I'm standing by. I know some of you right now are a little high on Sanchez right now. Oh, he didn't look that bad. He didn't look that bad. Yeah, and this offense is actually moving the ball, and it is. Without question it is. And we're about to jump into that right now. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use that as my segue. So as we get in, we're going to start talking about that quarterback competition right about now. And Rex Ryan makes headlines once again this past week, and this time for calling out Geno Smith at a practice. During a press conference, Rex Ryan pretty much said that Geno Smith had a brutal practice. Yeah, no crap, it was brutal. He was trying to come back off an ankle injury he got in the last game so that he could still be viable for the starting spot in New York. But we call him out, yet we barely called out Mark Sanchez over the last few years of all his ridiculous asinine mistakes. We barely called him out. Now, maybe you're trying to turn the corner and make sure everybody's accountable, and I can understand that. But for you to just flat out call out this boy when he's trying so desperately to get that starting spot seems a little ridiculous to me. It seems it's very underwhelming. I don't know how else to put it. It befuddles me how this logic came about. Now, I understand you got to hold players accountable. Everybody's got to be accountable. Fine. But when it comes, to this situation, I struggle with the idea of, okay, Mark Sanchez with the lowest QBR over the last 2 seasons, who's solely responsible for the worst highlight in Jets history, and who's been coddled since the day he's got there, almost gets free passes for almost every mistake he's made up until the very end of last year. But Geno Smith has one bad practice and was outperforming Mark in the practices in the training camp, or at least keeping up step for step. And when he has one bad practice, we call him out. That makes me wonder what's going on. It seems to me, and I could be dead wrong, and it won't be the first time, but in my personal opinion, it seems like the decision's already been made in New York. And the body of work alone should speak for itself there. We have a complete body of work from Mark Sanchez. We have 4 seasons under his belt. We have two full preseason performances. And what do we have from Geno Smith? Just a training camp and a few plays against the Detroit Lions. That's it. That's all we have. And I can't see how Geno Smith at this point can really contend for the job. I really don't. And the fact that Rex Ryan seems to be sort of putting it off to the side a little bit. Seems to not want to comment on anything at the moment. Who's ahead, who's not. And everybody's saying, oh, the quarterback competition is still neck and neck, it's still in the dead heat. I don't see how. We haven't seen a real body of work from Geno Smith. How can it be even? How? There's no Geno side. We've got all Sanchez, but no Geno. Now, we can look at this 8 different ways, but the primary one is Geno Smith, not enough practice time, plenty of practice time, but not enough playing time. And then he has to miss the entire second preseason game, which pretty much should have been his game to make or break whether he gets a job or not. And it's disappointing to me, because I actually wanted to see a full competition. Now, they're still claiming there is one, but I'm not totally buying it right now. I'm just not, people. And I know a lot of you out there are feeling the same way. We all know it's coming. We're preparing ourselves for the punchline. I just wish I'd seen a real competition for it. 2 quarterbacks slugging it out. But instead, we have what seems to be a lopsided competition. We got one guy who's once again given every opportunity to succeed, and then we got another poor soul who's been given every opportunity to fail. Or has given himself a lot of opportunities to fail, I should say. The injury's unfortunate, but this is football, baby. You got to find a way to get back. I know that sounds kind of weird after I just got done saying that, Rex Ryan was a little unfair to the boy. I think it's completely out of bounds what he said to him, or how he blasted him out. But it is what it is. There's nothing we can really do about it, and we need to move on. I just wanted to hit upon that point real quick. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about Rex Ryan because I got a whole preseason game to talk about. I'm going to get into it right about now. So, ladies and gentlemen, the review of the second week of preseason and Mark Sanchez's performance.
Right, Sanchez pumps once, fires it deep right, bam!
That is why I breathe!
And with the Week 2 preseason game done and over with, we take a look at Mr. Mark Sanchez, because that's the person we're all going to look at first anyway. So we might as well get started right where we want to look. Mark Sanchez came out early in that game and came out early looking good. He really did. He had a hot hand. He was making smart decisions and even had a beautiful, beautiful touchdown pass to Cumberland in the first drive, going 3 for 3. Then gets the ball back, punches the ball down the field with the help of a very solid running game, and then gets picked off in the end zone. And I know I was just looking at it like, oh, come on. And that's what we struggled a lot with last year, was that red zone offense. It seems that Whenever we get down there, Mark seems to shrink. He seems to lose his concentration a little bit. Now, I understand all the defense is a lot closer to you now. It's almost impossible to spread them out. You got to make that smart decision in there. But you know what? It was a push on how that interception happened. Mark could have made a better decision. But on the other hand, the receiver, I think it was an option route, and the receiver probably could have gone more underneath the coverage instead of trying to go behind it. So it's a give and take. I'll give that one a push. But then after that, he did not look good at all for at least the next 2 or 3 drives. Just seemed to lose his whatever swagger he had very quickly. Eventually got it back as the game progressed, but for that brief moment, you could tell that it hurt. That interception hurt. And especially having it happen at home, nobody in MetLife Stadium was happy with him. Every time Mark Sanchez throws an interception, he's under such a microscope now. Every time he throws an interception, we're all looking at him with daggers in our eyes. And it's got to be wearing on him. It has got to be wearing on him. He knows he's responsible for more turnovers than anybody else in the NFL over the last 2 years. He knows he's at the lowest QBR over the last 2 seasons. He knows all of this, and he knows that every mistake he makes, we are watching with such precision at him that he barely has any room to breathe. He cannot make mistakes, because every time he does, it ends up in a headline somewhere. He can't get away with one, because that's his major problem, is ball control. But, all things being fair, he did show that he could lead the offense. Just that red zone again, where we struggled last year. First of all, getting to the red zone, we struggled. And then performing when we got there was even harder. But I can't take everything away from Sanchez. As far as his experience coming out, a little bit of leadership, it shows that he actually has that he actually made a commitment to himself to improve in these areas. But yet, in every preseason game, he's had an interception. That's a cause for concern. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you tell me. That is a huge cause for concern. But one thing I am happy about was the Jets' running game, and boy, did we have a running game. Blau Pow, good job, my man. Wow. Looking good. 7 carries for 68 yards, averaging 9.7 yards a carry. I am truly impressed. No touchdowns, but you know what? I'll take stats like that any given day of the week. Blau Pow, well done, sir. Absolutely well done. I was so impressed because the week before, you didn't look good. I won't say you didn't look good. It's just, I don't know whether Jets were trying or whatnot, but the run game just wasn't there. Just absolutely wasn't there. This week, it was there. It was there in full effect. And Blau Pow showed he wanted to play football. I'll give you a hint. Blau Pow and Chris Ivory, the 2 main people fighting for this position, all right? Blau Pow, 7 carries, 68 yards, 9.7 yards a carry. Wow. Wow. And then Chris Ivory, 6 carries for 13 yards, averaging 2.2 yards a carry. Now, granted, Blau Pow's longest one was a 37-yard one, so that counts for a lot of yards. But, hey, that's a 37-yard run. That's a huge chunk of field, baby, and I was excited about it. I really was. And one thing I noticed was that the Jets' offensive line was extremely cohesive this week. They looked good. Mark Sanchez was getting time. The holes were opening up. The offense, and that's where it all starts, people. That's the foundation of your house right there. You got to build it up front. And that offensive line, just as I predicted it would, is finally coming together. It's finally looking like a unit. I'm sure Mango has a lot to do with that. The coaching staff is really taking time with that crew. And boy, was I impressed with them. Absolutely impressed with the way the offensive line performed during that preseason game. It was a beautiful thing to watch. Are they the offensive line that we had at the beginning of the Rex Ryan regime? No. But they're starting to come together. And with that offensive line, that opens up so many more options for our offense, as we saw against Jacksonville. As this line stays together, stays cohesive, and stays on point, we're going to be able to do a lot more out of that backfield. We're going to be able to run a better wildcat. We're going to be able to run a few more misdirections. We're going to be able to run the play action again on a regular basis, and that's really going to help Mr. Sanchez hopefully improve and get better and actually start winning some games for us. I obviously Cumberland, another game with another beautiful touchdown catch down the field. I gave him some crap. I didn't think he was going to do much coming into the season, but so far in the first 2 preseason games, he's shown he can get open and make big plays. He has made 2 in 2 games. Not bad for a tight end I gave no credit for. I really thought Kellen Winslow was going to be that guy. Cumberland's showing that he's the one getting open, Maybe because it could be because Kellen's getting all the attention and they're forgetting about Cumberland. Guarantee you the Giants don't forget about him next week. But hey, now that I talked about the offense and show my praises where I want to, now obviously Braylon Edwards got in, made a couple nice catches, and I was happy to see Braylon back on the field. I really don't talk too much about when the number twos are in, even though Mark Sanchez did play for most of the game, and Chris Sims getting a little bit of time at the end, due to the fact that both Geno Smith and McElroy were both out with ankle injuries. Pardon me. So overall, the offense did look pretty good, all things considered. Running game, excellent. Blau Powell, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Oh my God, you were finding holes, you were making cuts, you were getting up the field. It was a great thing to see a running game again. Great, it was against Jacksonville, but as I said before, I'll take it any way I can get it. And so will any of you. Now we're going to start talking about that defense in the first half. And oh my God, you want to talk about just an atrocious looking bunch of people. I could not believe what I was seeing from a Rex Ryan defense. Over pursuit. People getting way too far off the field. And D. Milliner, wow, did you get abused during that game. D, I cannot believe how abused you got. And I understand you're a rookie and all, but Blackman took you to the house. He absolutely took you to the house. You were non-existent. You were giving way too much cushion on man-to-man. You seem confused. You seem out of place, and you have got to be better than that if you want to make it in this league. I know it's only your second preseason game, but my man, you've had training camp. You've had training camp plus 2 preseason games. I mean, come on. It's sink or swim. You want to start for this football team, you better start showing that you can keep up. Because you can't keep up with Blackman. There's going to be a lot of other receivers out there who are going to take you to school as well. So you better shape up and ship out. Because from the beginning since you got drafted, I had praised you. I had put you on a bit of a pedestal. And even in the Detroit game, you looked like you were doing pretty well. And then the Jacksonville game came about, and oh my God, how bad did you look? And it was atrocious. It was absolutely atrocious, your performance. Cromartie called you out on it, and Rex called you out on it, and deservingly so. And I know you're a better player than that. I saw you play in college. I know what you're capable of. You need to pull your head out of you-know-what and get back on the field and make sure against the Giants you make a statement saying, I'm ready to play right now. And with that being said, also, up front, our pass rush actually looked like it had a bit of improvement. Sadly, Copels will be out indefinitely through the rest of the preseason, but I could see that our line especially was definitely making huge rushes on Blaine Gabbert, and I was genuinely impressed with the defensive line. What I was not impressed with was the way we failed to seal off the edges. Now, for those people who don't know what sealing off the edges means, sealing off the edges is on the ends of the offensive lineman is when you get through and break down and you find the football on attack. When you over pursue, you leave those lanes wide open. What you're supposed to do is when you get through the line, if you get penetration, you're supposed to go 1 yard, break down, find the football. You don't just keep running up the field. And what I saw from that group was way too much over pursuit. It was a very, very, very disturbing lack of discipline on that defensive up front. As far as sealing off the edges, like I said, pass rush was good. Overly aggressive, and I know that sounds strange when you talk about defense, overly aggressive, but yes, being overly aggressive does make for some bad situations. You gotta learn how to break down when you get through, you gotta find the football, and you gotta close the gap and attack. That's the way it is. That's the way football's played. And it broke my heart to see it like that because I really thought, and I've even said it in my previous podcast, that the defense would be the cornerstone which carries this team anywhere. And in that last game, it was by far the offense that carried that team through the game. When was the last time you could say that to the Jets about any gaming situation? I don't care if it's preseason or not. We have not been able to say that for quite some time. So actually, if Rex Ryan pulls his defense together, I don't want to say it out loud, but I kind of have to. We might actually have a football team. Now, of course, the regular season is going to spell it all out for us. And once it goes live, everything changes. It does every season. I don't care if you go 4-0 in the preseason. That don't mean nothing. But from what I'm seeing of what this team is capable of, especially considering the fact last year during the preseason, we could see early that this offense was going to struggle. We saw it very early in the preseason. As we watched those preseason games last year, we're like, wow, does this offense ever move the ball? Now, this team still struggles on third down, and that is a major, major concern. You've got to be able to produce on third down if you want to keep the chains moving. So hopefully that will get improved within the upcoming weeks before we head into week 1. But I'll tell you what, overall, this offense definitely has taken a major leap from last year on all accounts. And the defense has taken a step back as far as I can see. So if the defense can just calm down a little bit, remember their responsibilities, and remember the basics, they'll be fine. And this offense keeps progressing, we might actually have a football team. I don't want to jinx it, though. I don't want to jinx the football gods here or nothing, but my God. An amazing, especially the running game. My God, I was so happy for Vlahovic. And then we had that other running back, Bell, I believe was what his name was. Oh my God, another 2 touchdowns for him in the second half. I'm impressed. I'm not gonna lie. I am impressed with the run game of this offense. I'm impressed with the offensive line's improvement from last year. I am depressed about the defense though, and how Jacksonville just made them look stupid. Now, granted, Jacksonville ran almost all no huddle. The Jets were on their heels the entire time of it, and they were just trying to make up for whatever was going on. But you've got to play. You got to play it straight. I don't care if they're going no huddle or not. You're a paid professional. You should be ready to react to that situation. And what happened was there was a bunch of younger guys who didn't know how to deal with the NFL speed and no huddle, and that's what happened. And I don't know how to analyze it beyond that. And like I said, hugely disappointed in D. Milliner. Now, we did get a nice fumble, and we got a couple turnovers. So defense did make some good things happen. And like I said, the pass rush was there. We were definitely getting after the quarterback, and that's something we haven't seen in a while either. We definitely have a lot of speed up on that front 3 and the 3-4 front. So I'm excited about that. That our defensive line look like they're definitely more mobile, they're definitely more aggressive now. And that'll complement the linebacker, especially with Copels being out. We're going to need more pressure up front, and we're going to need to make some plays to alleviate something off the linebackers a little bit, because it's going to be needed. With Copels being the outside linebacker being out, and definitely through the preseason, and I'm going to guess probably through week 1 or 2 as well. But I'm almost excited about this team now. Like, I can see good things in this team that I didn't think I was going to see coming into the preseason. I really thought it was going to be more Mark Sanchez just lumping around and trying to find people, because I really didn't believe in our receiving core that much. And this is without Santonio Holmes, mind you, people. Santonio Holmes isn't even back yet. Now, I don't know what his timetable is going to be back, and I still don't believe he knows what his timetable is going to be. But we can get Braylon up and running. We can get Curley a clue. Stephen Hill remembers to catch a football, and Sanchez can lower that turnover rate. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have an offense. We will have an offense. And I have no doubt Rex Ryan will fix the problems in his defense. I've no doubt. But I don't want to see Sanchez fall apart again after a turnover and start hanging the head. That fight you showed week 1 in the preseason after that first really, really, really bad turnover, and you came back and fought through it. That's the Sanchez I want to see. People are going to make mistakes. Hey, Peyton Manning throws interceptions. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, they all throw interceptions. Every single one of them has. It's the way you respond after it. It's the way you come after it when it happens, and you have to go on the sideline. You have to have that feeling inside you. You can't wait to get back out there. You can't wait to show them, okay, you know what? You got me once. I'm gonna get you back. And that's what Mark Sanchez did the week prior to this. He got him back. Now, eventually, he finally got into a groove and started picking up again. But it was after that. It was after that interception in the red zone. You could just tell that it hurt him. It definitely was a quick shot to you know where, and it definitely stunned him real quick. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, overall, I liked a lot of things of what I saw. And ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, this podcast shall come to an end. I thank each and every one of you have taken your good time out of your day to come and listen to me and for us to talk about what our passion is, and that is the green and white. Like I said, if this is your first time here, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you've come back for another round, keep coming. I'm going to keep bringing. And with that being said, I will be back next week after the preseason game with the Giants for another update. And hopefully by that time we will have an official starting quarterback, even though we all pretty much know who it's going to end up being. So until next time, I remind you to either be good at it, because we keep cheering for that,